Hey, Odd Musings, episode number 409. That's right. It is the Cleaner 409 day. And that's all we're talking about, cleaning grime and grease.
It was also my troop number when I was in Cub Scouts way back when.
Troop 409. I was in Cub Scouts for 1 year, and it's been so long ago I couldn't tell you what mine was.
I was the sit-up champion of our Cub Scout Olympics back in like 1982 or whatever it was.
Yeah, mine was probably like 78 or 9, and I barely remember. I know we did the Pinewood Derby, and I think we did some crafts or whatever, but really wasn't much of anything. So that's why I probably didn't continue on.
Pinewood really Derby car somewhere.
I wish I said mine, but I don't. It's long gone. So what's going on, Scott?
Just been keeping busy, doing the thing, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Surviving the weather.
Yeah, this heat is something. It's the hardest part is it's humid, and like me, because I'm in and out of the stores working, it's more humid in the stores because they're not running the air like they used to. You don't walk into the store and feel very cold. You're just barely slightly chilled. Also, I step into the dairy cooler because I can, and just to cool off for a minute, because it's just I'm sweating more in the stores than outside sometimes.
So. You see everyone lined up in the dairy aisle with their heads stuck in the refrigerators.
No, yeah, that's why they're leaving the doors open. Just I gotta get milk. I'll get it in a minute.
Why is it taking you 5 minutes to grab that milk?
Yeah, because they're old and slow too. It's hot.
It's hot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what's gonna do your ad read, and we'll get going.
All right. Teen Titans of Real Estate, you know the deal. Jill and I are here for you. It's been we had a busy week this week. Over 4th of July. Actually, on 4th of July, we were busy negotiating a deal at 10 p.m. for our buyer, and we got it done. Offer was accepted, and we just had the inspection yesterday, so we did all that. So we, even though it was 10 p.m. on a holiday, we were out working and getting it done. So our buyers really appreciate it, and got them a great deal for the house that they're getting. So just gotta get through the inspection and appraisal periods, and then we'll be in the home stretch for the closing. So if you need a realtor, give us a call, 586-232-5144.
Fantastic. That's good to hear. I hadn't realized that because I hadn't paid much attention to the Facebook and all that lately. So
we were watching Jurassic World Rebirth on 4th of July. Got out at about 9:30, and we got the call that the seller received the offer that we had submitted just before the movie, and they wanted to negotiate. So we were we're driving home from Jurassic World and doing that deal.
Nice.
Yeah.
So something I saw last week, I wanted to kind of let our viewers know. We get a lot of people on Facebook. Facebook is starting to delete the live videos after 7 days. YouTube is not. So please.
Oh, only 7 days.
Yeah. So I believe it's 7 days. So, or maybe in 7 days it was starting. I don't know. But here's a link to our YouTube channel. We got 66 subscribers. If we get 100 subscribers, we can actually get a more branded looking channel. It says Odd Musings 3541. We could actually just create the Odd Musings or something like that. So, so definitely go there, click that, subscribe, follow us there, because we do broadcast there every show along with the Facebook Bardstone and Odd Musing pages. So definitely follow us there. And then
it makes me glad that all the videos over the years we've for me on my channel, it's rare I actually do a live video. I usually record it and then upload it. So
well, and that's the way to kind of do it.
Losing a lot of content.
Well, and then part of it is it's the cost of storage, of infinite storage, and this goes even with all the streamers where people get mad. Oh my God, they took off this movie and we wanted to watch it tonight and it was on yesterday. It's like, they only have so much that they host. for the streaming
Right.
aspect for pulling. They have backup storage where they can keep stuff they want to keep, but this is where if you want to have all your stuff, you need to download, back it up yourself. I mean, I've got, right here, I've got one of mine is I've got a couple of these old devices here. This one's like I think this is a 500 megabyte, or no, it might be more than that. It might be a terabyte one. I got a 1 or 2 terabyte one, things like that, and for all those important videos and photos, so and files. Gosh, you got to back up especially with the comics. We back up our stuff multiple times, so and then I also use Dropbox for a lot of that stuff too.
Yep.
So I have a delay, Scott. So we're trying not to cross over, and we just did. So go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it has to do with these headphones. I got these headphones off of the Amazon Prime deals because remember last week I said you sounded kind of far away.
Yeah.
So what it was is the wire is getting bad, and so it was giving issues. So I got these new ones, and it has a built-in microphone, but I don't know if it's conflicting with the normal microphone. But both microphones I tested, and they both have a delay. So I'll have to figure out how to undo the delay. But
so you're saying the headphone itself has a built-in microphone, correct?
Correct. But in StreamYard, I can select whether I want my normal microphone or the headphone microphone. But both of them give me a delay now. Whereas my normal microphone, which is this, this type of mic, normally that doesn't have a delay. So I don't know.
Well, and it could be not necessarily the devices, but the just the login. Like I have no reason understanding why my voice is that chipmunk squabble voice, and it just comes out of nowhere. Right. So, and it just pops up at random times. Like my computer update, I turned on last night and it updated, and then so I was able to shut it back off and turn it back on today. And I was waiting for you to get on before we went live because I want to make sure I could talk. So right. But they do updates all the time. So
you never know with computers.
Yeah, and I would check your drivers. Make sure all your audio drivers and that are up to date. So,
yeah,
cool.
Faux show.
Yeah. So for the 4th of July, I actually went down to Indiana on the 3rd. Went with Kevin and Chloe. Mm-hmm. We went and saw Weird Al Yankovic, and he was Puddle's Pity Party open for Weird Al. It was a great time. I wanted to get a T-shirt, but they didn't have any in my size, and they sold out all the Weird Al shirts by the end of the show. So people were buying a ton of merch, but I did buy this really cool pin, and it's an accordion that says Weird Al on it. So
was that on July 3rd?
That was July 3rd. Yes.
Here we have actual video from the July 3rd performance.
Oh, a ton of people were sharing videos for that one there.
Yeah. This one is him doing Fat in the fat suit.
Yes.
There, I'll fast forward a little bit.
Yeah, they did the video opening there.
There we go.
I gotta say, his band is really good.
Yeah.
So his band's really good, and yeah.
But that's from the show you saw.
Yeah, it was great. He did a few montages so he was able to do a whole polka set. So with his polka music towards the beginning, he did that early, and then later on he did a bunch of stuff where he mixed a few different songs, including like a Surgeon and the Eat It and all that. And then he did a bunch of full ones, and Nirvana one. Parody he did. He come out dressed like Kurt Cobain, and one of the guys that was playing had stepped off and come out dressed like a janitor, was actually mopping the floor, and then you pick up a big like a tuba and played that, and then put it back down, went back to mopping the floor. So they tried to recreate the video, which is funny.
Yeah, until you see him in concert, you don't really. You kind of forget how many huge songs he has done. And then you see him in concert, and for 2 solid hours, he's playing back-to-back music. And then, like you said, then there's even a segment where he's even doing a collage of music to fit them all in.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing to how much what a body of work he's created.
Yeah, and then like they did one part where they were going to do like a request, and of course he asked the guitarist every time that what the request is, and I guess it changes up every couple of shows or so. They did a George Harrison song, so he basically did a cover of an actual song and not a parody.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was pretty good. It
Very
was
good.
we enjoyed it. We had a great time. The great thing about this venue, it's right across the street from some hotels here in Indianapolis, downtown Indianapolis. And for those that know the area, it's where the JW Marriott is. That's the big, tall, blue building. And there's like 4 Marriotts all attached right in there in that on the grounds there. And it's literally walking distance across the street. It was an easy walk there, easy walk back. So we didn't have to worry about fighting traffic or anything else because we were staying at the hotel there, and it was great. It was
Yeah.
a good time. So and then
Oh,
got
nice.
back and just hung out for the 4th. I was back working on Sunday and through yesterday because I'm getting ready to head down we're doing Fort Fest in Fort Wayne, Indiana, starting tomorrow. That's downtown Indiana or downtown Fort Wayne, Indiana. 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They got a lot of stuff going on. They got the vendor area. They've got food trucks. They're going to have a couple of different art things. They got a big kid thing going on Saturday. So a lot of
Yeah.
cool stuff. If you're going to be in that area, want to come down for that area, it's going to be a lot of fun on that. So you come check out some of the Bardstone stuff. We have all kinds of
I
artwork
think
and books.
next time you guys do Indiana show, I think I'm gonna have to just travel down there to hang out with you guys, just to have an excuse to be down there.
Yeah, right now for the Indiana Comic Con, it falls around the time that Braden and Chloe are graduating next year, so it's not going to work. They moved it to June, which I was bummed about that. I wish they would have
Oh,
kept it like
really?
in April or March, but it got moved to
Yeah.
June. So we probably won't be doing that one because I told them I'd help them out with their graduation parties and all that. Because I help with some of the cooking and things like that, so they don't have to worry about that. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll look at, and also it's like the Hall of Heroes, same time. It's like Hall of Heroes, Indiana Comic Con are back to back. I'm going, oh, that sucks. Or, one is I probably won't do either one just because of the timing, because they fall right around that time, and I don't have the actual dates yet of everything. But it's like,
Right.
even though there's a few hours apart from them, I hate when they have shows that are just in the same areas relatively that are too
Yeah.
close.
Well, everyone who lives in between is going to be. They're either going to go choose one or the other, or they're going to go to both and blow their money on ticket prices and everything else, and not have money to spend
Yeah.
because they're going to both. You know.
No, I
So
know, and that's the
it
hard part.
always hurts when it's that close together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So,
Huh.
but yeah, so we'll figure that out. We're still working on the schedules for next year, see what we're going to be doing, where we're going. I'll do Motor City, of course. And I'm checking in.
Maybe
We're
I'll
waiting.
apply to Indiana Comic Con if you guys aren't doing the.
Yeah, go for it, man.
You're talking about for next year, 2026.
Yeah. So apply for it. Go get a
Okay.
Bardstone booth
Yeah,
or
I'll look
Red
at
Arts
that.
Alley table, and
Yeah, maybe I'll do that.
yeah,
Yeah,
because I
so
mean,
we're
there's
still
hotels and
representing, and
Airbnbs. Yeah, hotels and Airbnbs aren't too bad around there.
yeah,
So speaking of, so
no, it's a great show. I
but
love the area.
yeah, speaking of comics, though, I wanted to register a complaint, not with Scott, just in general with
Uh-oh.
Archie Comics.
Uh-oh.
So this week, the Jay and
Oh,
Silent Bob Archie Comics came out. I had ordered some online, and I got them in the mail. Fortunately, they're not damaged, but I haven't opened them yet. This is how they sent them. They were not in anything else.
floppy?
Yeah, just like that. See, I don't want to show my address,
Oh
but
my God.
it was
Yeah.
this is how they sent it. And I couldn't believe it. I get my mail out, I pull it
Wow.
out, and I was like, what the, it's like not even in like a box or a hard, I'm like, my gosh, how ridiculous is this? We
Yeah.
send
Well,
our
it's
stuff out.
another example.
Mhm.
Yeah. When
Go ahead.
you buy off a Kickstarter, independent comics are honestly far superior to the established big guys.
Mhm.
They don't care. They do that when we send out our stuff. It's highly packaged. Same with Sean Forney, has them, Randy Zimmerman, all these people we know who are independents. We put the money into packaging so that you get as pristine of a copy as possible. And the big guys, they don't
Yeah.
care.
Looking to see if I had one around here. I don't think I do. But yeah, we use the gem and they're designed to mail comics.
Comic mailers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they're great. And I was surprised I got it like that. I was like, you got to be kidding me. It's like, you really gonna send it out like that? I mean, thank God that, because I had this happen many years ago with magazines. For some reason, they started folding them in half. I used to get Sports Illustrated,
Yeah.
and I would get it, and it'd be folded in half and creased all the way through. So, like, open it up, it's like, what is this? It's like, and I complained to the postmaster, like,
Yeah. Now it's a
what?
pain to flip.
They were like, "Oh, that's what we do on all of them." I'm like, "Don't! You're damaging my magazine. I don't like it." I had to go out, and they sent me one because it was when the University of Michigan won the national championship. I had to go out and buy another copy because mine got in the mail damaged, and I was so mad about
Mhm.
that. And I used to, that was, this, of course, way before the internet. You got all your real news on sports, stuff like that, and I had it for several years, probably up till early to mid '90s. I stopped getting it. Um, by then, of course, ESPN had really taken off. They'd had a lot more news shows. You didn't really need the Sports Illustrated, and the magazine articles weren't as good as they used to be. So, because I actually did read
Right.
that one for the articles. But yeah, I saw that. I could not
Well,
believe it, and literally not in anything else.
hmm.
No.
Yeah, and it's really not, especially a company of that size.
Yeah.
The quantity they could buy of the mailers would really make it very inexpensive to mail it out in a better quality mailing. Even if it was just a board within the baggie that just give it a
Well,
little shrink.
yeah. If they had done that, if it had been like basically, bagged and board. I mean, the close thing is the back part is a little firm, but it's not a board. But
Right.
it slides also. It's all over the place. It's just, I
Hmm.
was just like surprised about that. And I was like, man, and it's like, I know Kevin's supposed to be at Colorado Springs when we're there. I might just go register a complaint with him.
There you go.
Yeah. But then it's like, and also in
Huh.
like the same week here, I've gotten the new 45 from one of my favorite bands, the Dolly Rots. They came out with a new song called Get On This Ride. And then I haven't listed the side B yet, which is a cover of You Don't Own Me. But this came
Oh,
in that
okay.
same type of mailer that we send out.
Right.
So, and they just finished up their little early summer tour. They got some more dates scheduled later this year around the country. Check them out. They're a fun show, and they can be family friendly a lot of places. And their kids actually do a bit in the middle of the performance that where the oldest one, he does the yo-yo, and he's really good at it and can do all the tricks and stuff like that. So,
There's their website there, dollyrots.com.
yep, that's Kelly and Lewis. Yep, Kelly and Lewis. They've been around for quite a
Yeah.
while. I've been a big fan for 20 years or so I always support them because, again, like us as independent comic guys, they're an independent band. They're part of Wicked Cool Records,
Right.
which is Little Stevens, and they were part of Joan Jett's Blackheart record label at one time. And that, but they
Oh,
kind of
really?
went on their way. It's one of the things where it happens a lot. And then, so of course, I get like the T-shirts, I get the music stuff like that, posters, and I've got one somewhere around here signed. I got to get up on the wall still. But yeah, I enjoy their music. They're basically,
They do have an online store through that site too.
yeah, they have a lot of merch. They have T-shirts. You can get the CDs and they get them signed, and they're very reasonably priced. They're not crazy pricing on that. I've been buying the LPs as they've been coming out more than just the CDs because I can stream all the music, and it's cool to have a signed record. Not that everybody's going back to vinyl again. I think it's just a cool thing to have. So the vinyl I buy is a lot of times not just buying everything just to have it. It's buying stuff I really like and also when I go to see a
Yeah.
band and I like to support them that way too by buying the vinyl and adding it to the collection. I did that with a band we saw last year called Bones UK. Bought it wasn't signed, but I wanted to buy their LP and it was really good. And what's the recent ones I got recently? Local H got that earlier this year. We saw them live, and the main guy signed all the albums and that. And then Candlebox last year saw them live, and for $55 they were selling the LP signed by the entire band. I was like, well, yeah, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
cool.
yeah, so that's my gripe this week is packaging on this stuff, and it should know
Okay.
better.
I've got a gripe then. I'm going to throw out a gripe. So I mentioned I saw Jurassic World Rebirth. The
Mhm.
movie itself was fine. I would say it's probably middle of the pack of all the Jurassic Park movies. So yeah, if you're just going to watch a dinosaur flick, maybe go to the like if you have it like Imagine Theater where it's Tuesdays or $5, go to that. It's a fun ride. It is what it is. You know it's an aging franchise. There was nothing really new to this, but you know if you're looking for an excuse to go see a movie, it is fun to see giant dinosaurs on a giant screen,
Yeah.
but that's about it. I mean, Scarlett Johansson herself, the movie wasn't a wow because of her. But my gripe is she is now labeled as the top grossing leading actor slash actress in the world after this movie. My gripe is, if you're labeling her as the top grossing leading actress, all the Marvel movies she did as a co-star, not as lead, should not be counted in her totals.
Correct.
She's getting credit for all the Iron Man movies and everything else. If you really look at the movies she led, Lucy, even Black Widow,
Mhm.
her movies are not blockbuster number one movies typically. Um, and like I said, Black Widow even was carried by the MCU brand at the time, where people were showing up just because it was MCU. So I don't. It kind of irritates me. They're pushing this narrative now this week of how she's the biggest actor in the world. She's not.
Well, you gotta remember
She's not.
that's a
Um,
studio ploy. They love to do that, and I mean, they
right.
did that years ago with Harrison Ford, and they were like, "Oh yeah, he's the top grossing
Yep.
actor out there," and they list all his movies. I want to go, well, yeah, sure, he was one of the leads, but he's technically a co-star in Star Wars, all the Star Wars movies. You know, he was the lead in
Yeah.
the Indiana Jones, so yeah, he's got those six right there. They always heavily go with a lot of those. So he must, yeah, he had a lot
Yeah.
very successful movies in that. She's had some very successful movies, but she's not always the main focus of all these movies either. It's all political. She's
Yeah.
also the new action female star. Um, I mean,
Right.
I've heard that she's really good in this in terms of what the role is, but again, I've heard the same thing that you said.
She was
It's not
fine.
much. It's
Yeah.
not much there. I mean, it's just it's
They could have cast anybody in there, and I'll give her this. She didn't come across as a Mary Sue in this. Like
yeah.
she's a mercenary type person that was hired, and she does bring. And I don't know how much of it is because of her background with Marvel. She brings a little gravitas to her role, so it's not like, oh my god, this is so stupid. She just magically can fight dinosaurs barehanded.
Yeah.
Like, no, she didn't do any of that. Like,
They had a good
so
backstory for the
that part,
character.
correct. It made sense for why she was how she was,
Yeah.
and she relied heavily on tools and weapons, not like brute strength. So I thought her role was fine. She did a good job for what it was, but she didn't carry the movie. The dinosaurs carried the movie. That's what carried. People went to see the dinosaurs, not to see her.
Every Jurassic
Is my point.
movie,
Um,
Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, it really is the dinosaurs. There are things
right,
people like. People liked Jeff Goldblum in the original couple Jurassic Parks. They liked his character,
right,
his chaos stuff, things like that. There were some funny bits with some of the other actors, but realistically, it's all about the dinosaurs. And unfortunately, it's always about either now. It's like we have to have this big giant, megalon type creature or the Velociraptors.
mhm,
They can't get it. I personally think that
yeah,
I'm not sure why they did this Jurassic World Rebirth, other than just to keep the franchise going, and they could. And I think it's at
yeah,
this point now with the technology that's easy enough for them to film these things. Even though I saw a thing with her talking about the boat scene, they spent I forget how many weeks filming that boat scene because it's a lot of acrobatic stuff because that's practical. But for the most part, they have everything already digitally ready to go with all these characters now with the dinosaurs. They can easily plug and play them.
mhm,
I'd like to see them go back, and I need to reread it. I've talked about this before. I need to reread Jurassic Park myself. I think if they went back and reread the original novel and created a story based on that, they don't have to do the entire novel and movie. They could break it up in a couple different movies, I
yeah,
believe, and go from there. It would actually be a better way to
yeah,
relaunch the franchise. Now we're just at this thing where, oh
mhm,
yeah, dinosaurs around the world. It's just here. It's kind of become overdone with, even within like if they kept going with the Skull Island stuff with King Kong. They
yeah,
had dinosaurs there and things like that. It's like, at this point, everybody knows they're there. Who cares? just keep them there. But
Yeah.
and the
I
idea
think
that
they're also
everybody wants to go there and steal something of technology and stuff like that. I would think that most of that technology would be available elsewhere, because they kind of set that up in the Jurassic World movies, where the main guy that was trying to that cloned his granddaughter or whatever, and they had that off island anyway. So
yeah. I think the best recipe would be they're falling victim to their own success in that they're becoming more and more family friendly. Um, they had that cartoon series with Jurassic World, also where these kids, this follows these kids and stuff with the dinosaurs. Then they have the movies here, and this one is a PG-13 rating. Uh, and honestly, my only complaint about the movie itself, although it is what it is, but there's a lot of people on this island, and it's supposed to be the most dangerous island of all because they've all got these crazy mutated dinosaurs that they were experimenting with. Like almost everyone survives, and it's like way too many people survive. There should have been deaths, and then the deaths that do happen are implied a lot of times or very quick and not much seen. Um, they could have gone. I think they would do better to shelf this. Stop making movies. Stop doing TV series. Give it a 5 to 10 year break, and then come back as a hardcore, like horror style movie, or not movie, but a series on streaming where you really dive into the book
yeah.
and give us like a nice, like in-depth storytelling that's true to the book. That's what I think would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's the problem is they,
Yeah.
after, was it Jurassic Park 3? How many years were between those? So it was Jurassic Park 3, then it was Jurassic World. So
Yeah.
I mean, that was technically a reboot. Jurassic Park 3 came out in 2001. Then they did Jurassic World, was the rebrand, and that came out in 20.
With Chris Pratt.
What the original one? 2015. So it was 14 years between them. And the first one, Jurassic World, it was like, okay, this is cool. We see what happened. They explained, they still came in, they built the park, and the park really is working now, and everything else. And then the chaos happens. Well, then it became, I think after the first one with everything going nuts, then they had to create this whole story of this, the guy that with the granddaughter and the whole cloning stuff. And I was like, that's where they took a big misstep. It was doing that.
Yeah, they keep trying, and they cover it in this one too. They keep trying to go back. I think what they're trying to do is make it a morality tale about the dangers of science interfering with nature and stuff. And they keep trying to turn it into this cloning experimental thing. Like in the other ones, they had the military getting involved, trying to make like these hybrid dinosaur human soldiers. But it goes off track when they do that, It doesn't work, I don't think.
No, it doesn't. And it becomes just this redone thing. It's like I said, when I saw the trailer for this, I hadn't really planned on seeing it. And I'll probably watch it when it streams once, and part of it was I looked at it going, okay, it's not the exact same basic plot as Jurassic Park 3, but they use that basically, well, we got to find a way to go back to the island. So here's the reason. Jurassic Park 3 was they were trying to find William H. Macy's kid. So they, and they did it as a, there was a crash or whatever with, stuff like that. And so they're on the island again, or they were on the second island, I think it was in Jurassic Park 3, not the main island where the park was done.
Yeah.
Because they had a separate island where they were just breeding the animals. They were more natural, wild or whatever. So
yeah, that's how this one is. It's a separate island, but this was the experimental island. So it was all the premise of the movie, and I don't think this is a spoiler because they give it all at the front of the movie. The general public is bored with dinosaurs now. It's like, we've seen dinosaurs 35 years. No one cared. So they're doing these mutant hybrids to try to keep creating bigger and more dangerous dinosaurs to keep the public interested and have them coming as an attraction. So that's what's the premise is of that. And the reason why they're going to the island is they're trying to discover new medicine. So they need to get the blood samples from the most dangerous dinosaurs on the island so they could start making these drugs to help people in medicine. So that's the premise.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and that's the
so
thing.
it's basically the same as the other. It's just slightly different.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's like I looked it up real quick, and right now, throughout all the iterations of the Jurassic Park / World universe, there is 6 known islands related to the park and its operations. Isla Nublar and Isla Sorna are the 2 that they use the most. And then they had one they created for that Camp Cretaceous series, and then a new island is introduced in this upcoming Rebirth. So it's
Yeah.
again, it's just they're really struggling with a franchise that they really should let go of. And I said it's not going to continue on, you know, doing these kind of movies where people are, I mean, yeah, it's made a lot of money but sometimes people are just like, oh yeah, I want to go see another dinosaur movie. It's going to die off fast. Yeah, it's done 300 something million worldwide. We'll see
Yeah.
what it does next week.
The interesting thing is the premise of the movie almost follows real life. It's when the first Jurassic Park came out, that was the most realism we ever got with a dinosaur movie. So it was like, wow, like the gimmick was the dinosaurs. The star was the dinosaur. We are getting tired of it. And so the people are going out and so they keep trying to make more and more dangerous dinosaurs to attract people. But at the end of the day, it's a dinosaur movie and they're doing the same thing over and over again. And there's no real story arc to do because like the closest they got was the Chris Pratt story arc. I thought overall it was a good attempt, but it fell apart halfway through, and then the second half of the second movie and the third one, it just fell apart. But I really like the first Chris Pratt one. I thought that was a good start to their soft
Yeah.
reboot. They just went, it fell apart for whatever reason.
Yeah. It's like the original one. If they went back, it'd be a lot more, grittier. Definitely could do. I think they should look, not necessarily because rated R is the way to go, but if they allow it to be the grittiest it bees, it's definitely what they need to do on that is go and be a little hardcore and look at, like I said, look at the original stories. I mean, it was, the original
Yeah.
novel was a good novel. And I remember when it came out, people were talking like, this is great. Movies going, oh, it's not really like the novel, but which they never are. Of course, the original novel, it says here under Wikipedia, did begin as a screenplay by Creighton, who wrote screenplays. He's more than just a novelist.
Right.
So, and he revived the idea later on and created that. Because I mean, he did the Westworld film, the original one, and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So, yeah, I think I think it's definitely it's as it puts it, even Creighton said, it was a cautionary tale on genetic manipulation. Um, and this, of course,
Mm-hmm.
was done coming up this science fiction era from the 80s, and there's all this talk of different genetic engineering, which we've seen a ton of over the years develop between what they can do with not just people, but our food and everything else. So there's a lot of genetic manipulation that's not just about creatures and people. So, I mean, there's a lot of things
Oh yeah.
they could develop if they want to do a trilogy of movies again, and I understand the business side. They want to make money, but if they're not done well, it's going to make money initially and then die off fast.
Yeah. All good franchises need a break to allow a reset period,
Yeah.
allow the fans to develop a hunger for it, and then come back. And then, even if you're not rebooting, even if you're staying within the same story arc, it's healthy to allow the fans to have a little bit of hunger
Right.
so that when it comes out, they're like, ooh, we're amped up for this, yay! Like that's one thing I wonder with the DC movies coming out. I mean, they just ended the other DC universe. I mean, Aquaman was last year, wasn't it? And we're
Uh,
already coming out with a new.
well, they've been
Was
talking
Aquaman
about
the
it.
last of the?
I think so. They've been talking about these for a while. Aquaman 2 came out in 23. It was at the end of 23. So it's been about a year and a half.
So a year and a half.
Problem is
Yeah.
though, they started talking about this new iteration over 2 years ago. They wanted to talk about it. They launched it
Right.
around Comic-Con. They wanted to make sure that get the best
Yeah.
press, stuff like that. But still, we had to hear 2 years of talk for this first movie. Now, I've seen a lot of people post that seem to like it. I'll probably won't get a chance to see it till Tuesday. I might try to go see it Tuesday. But it's
Yeah.
we'll see how it is. And it's one of those things where now, here's the one thing everybody says though. Crypto steals the show. So I'm thinking, okay, so it's neat to see some of this cool stuff we haven't seen before, but probably overall it's very typical Superman film. So
But if it's true that the dog is stealing the show, that's not good.
no, it's not. So that's
It
what I'm,
should be Superman stealing the show.
yeah. Well, it should be, but I think anymore, Superman has become uh just a redundant character. He's just there. I mean, it doesn't matter what he does. We've seen it so many times between all the films, all the cartoons, just dealing with all the TV stuff. I mean, all the different TV shows they've done in the last 30 years alone. Has
Yeah, I
been a
think
lot.
the struggle with Superman is they've made him way too powerful.
Mhm.
Now, my understanding is James Gunn has weakened him. He's not as powerful as previous iterations. So hopefully, because as a viewer, there has to be a sense of danger to your character
Right.
to keep you emotionally involved. Once a character is immortal and invincible, you lose that tension that's needed for the roller coaster ride that is a movie. And you need the tension.
Mhm.
That's the problem with the Matrix movies. When after the first one, Neo becomes all powerful, where by himself he can fight a billion Agent Smiths by himself with no harm and not even trying. So it's like all of a sudden the tension's gone. So you got to have a sense of danger, a sense of possible loss
Yep.
to be engaged. So I do hope they weaken him a little bit. I will say though, for Superman, my most underrated Superman out there is the Brandon Routh version. There's some issues with the writing I didn't like, but him as Superman was the perfect continuation of the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah, he was. The problem was twofold in the story. One was they had an actress
Yeah.
playing too young of a Lois Lane, and she came across as too
Yep.
young. She was only 20 or 21 when they filmed it. Number two was introducing Superman's son and doing the whole deadbeat dad thing. That should have never been a part of the
Yeah.
story. I like the idea of him being gone for 5 years and coming back. It set up
Yeah.
a new catalyst. At that point, you can introduce a more powerful, more established Lex Luthor, and he doesn't necessarily be the
Yeah.
full bad guy during that initial movie, but he's the overseeing arc bad guy where basically as soon as like, I'm back, and he's like, yeah, and then they send someone else to get him, and it sets up what could have been a multiple movies, and it's him versus Lex
Mhm.
Luthor in different ways, and not just the standard land grab or whatever else.
Yeah.
So
And I know
that's where they
people have
screwed up.
issues with Kevin Spacey, but he was a great Lex Luthor in it.
He was
I
good.
thought that was great. Yeah, he was very good. And if I remember correctly, the Brandon Routh Superman actually it does away with Superman 3 and 4, and this is supposed to be a sequel to Superman 2, if I
Correct.
remember correctly.
Yeah, and that's where they
Yeah.
use
So,
the part where in Superman 2 where he loses his powers and he hooks up with Lois Lane. And then they're saying afterwards he took off, and so he had knocked her up without knowing. And I'm like, see, that was the worst part. And I remember John when I went and saw it, and
they
he's like,
shouldn't have gone down that path.
yeah, and he right away he goes, if they make him, because Superman is like his ultimate favorite character. He's like, if they make him a deadbeat dad, I'm leaving. And the minute it was confirmed at the end that, oh yeah, basically he's your son. I was like, John got up, walked out, didn't even stay for, there was still 10 minutes of the movie left. And that's how mad he was.
Yeah.
And I understood that. I
Yeah.
stayed till the end just to see what else happened and make sure, but I've never
Yeah.
watched it again. I've never seen it again. Don't ever plan to. And I like Brandon Routh.
Right.
One as an actor. I loved him as Superman. And he really epitomized the role, but they gave him such a crappy
Yes.
script.
Yes. But the highlight in that movie, going back to my point about invincibility of characters and stuff, it really becomes a strong movie at the point where Lex Luthor stabs him with the kryptonite, breaks it off, and as a viewer, you're like, oh wait, he might not survive this. Like, he was gravely injured by that kryptonite dagger. That part was cool. It was stupid how like the whole planet was turning into Krypton, and
Yeah.
that part was awful. But the sequence, other than that, like with him falling in the water and them coming to save him and all that stuff, that was a cool part. I agree on the whole issue with the sun part. That if you wanted to go that route, you need to wait until you get much farther in the storyline where Superman fully reveals himself to Lois. Maybe they're married. They're down the road. You can develop it that way. Like the Superman and Lois series that came out. Like they had kids together, but that was much later in their relationship.
Yeah, they did
You
an
know,
older. He was already probably for the 40s, and so they could have the
right?
kids, and it made more sense with that. And they just wrapped that series up. Probably
Yeah,
because they didn't want any competition, as they're always saying, between the TV shows and the movies, with the movie coming out. But I didn't
yeah,
really watch much of it. Watched a little bit of it. It didn't seem bad. I may go and visit it at some point and start from the beginning and stream it. But it's
yeah,
again, I in a lot of ways, I'm just overall the Superman altogether stuff. I still want to see this movie because, like I said, I want to see a couple of the things in it that, like I said, like the crypto and a few of the other characters. And I want to see if
yeah.
what they're trying. If hopefully within that, you see what they're trying to create in this new DC movie universe, and hopefully it's gonna be good.
And
Otherwise,
I think historically speaking, at least in the more recent years, DC just doesn't know how to handle Superman because he's such a good guy. And I feel like DC thinks he's outdated and audiences wouldn't want that.
mhm,
But I think Marvel showed us the template with Captain America. Uh, he was a man born, he was frozen in the ice, came back. He had old fashioned values. He didn't betray his own values to become dark. He kept to those ideals. And when you watch, it's interesting because the Winter Soldier movie came out right around the same time as the Henry Cavill Superman,
mhm.
where Superman kills Zod, and everyone's like, "Oh, yeah," everyone's mad about that. But really, and DC was like, well, we can't have a goody two shoes anymore as a hero. But then you look at Captain America, he was willing to sacrifice himself for his friend Bucky, even though Bucky had turned at that point and was fighting him. And it showed how to handle that type of a character.
Right.
So I hope James Gunn is taking a little bit of that Captain America essence from Marvel and putting it into here because I think it would work.
Well, I mean, that goes back to the originality of what Superman was. He was about truth, justice, and the American way. And of course, he came up in the late 30s into the 40s. There was a whole different time. And unfortunately, they keep trying to get rid of the American way. Well, he's a Superman for the world. It's like,
Oh yeah,
well, but he's rooted here in Kansas, in the United States, and that should be a basis of his roots, and not about
yeah,
being the American way. Does not necessarily what some people want to say nowadays is, oh, it's about conquer and destruction. No, it never was. It's all been about having a better way of life for
no,
everybody and building that for everyone, and that's where Superman came in. Is he didn't work for the government. He didn't do what the government said. He did what he needed to be done, and if
mm,
it went against what people in the U.S. didn't like, but it was good for all mankind, he would do it.
yeah. I hope also they don't try to turn this into a political message. Interview wise, they keep bringing up, well, this is about immigration and stop it. Yes, he's an alien who came here, but he crash landed on Earth, was adopted into a family. It's it's not. Don't turn it into politics. There's
Yeah.
no reason to, you know. And I really hope they don't do that. Sometimes the interviews they go a little more with their rhetoric than what
Well,
actually
I think
appears, and that's what I'm hoping.
I think it's more about the interview rhetoric. They always have to have something anymore. They can't just say talk about
Right.
the movie itself. They try to make it something politicized or whatever. Like it's gonna that's they feel like that's for some reason that's gonna draw butts to the seats, and it's not. I think it drives people away
Doesn't.
on all
Yeah,
spectrums. Because people are like, well, I don't want to deal with the
there's
real world.
no.
I want to get away from the real world when I go see Superman. And
And that's what these entertainers and movie makers and studios need to remember.
yeah,
They are entertainers. I don't go buy tickets to a circus for them to preach to me about politics. I don't buy tickets to a music concert to be preached at about politics. If I want that, I'll turn on the news. I don't want, I want to break away from it. It's
yeah.
everywhere. I want to go and have fun. Let me zone out in your fake universe here and have fun.
Exactly. So we'll see. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm gonna if I think I can, I'm gonna try to see it Tuesday, and then go from there. And of course, I'll see
Yeah.
what the vibe is at San Diego in a couple weeks, and see what people are talking about.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see it this weekend. So
Yeah, but and then Fantastic Four coming out. I'm not sure when I'll get a chance to see that. Probably sometime after San Diego. Um, we'll see how
yep.
that one goes too. Because I mean, these are all characters you do love and want to see, but don't want the same old, and at the same time, you don't want them to betray the characters and the stories either. So we'll see. But like I said,
Right.
everything I've seen so far from regular people on Facebook that saw the preview screening yesterday. I guess I didn't realize there was one yesterday. I already looked into it. And they all said the same thing. They all enjoyed it. Yes, Crypto kind of was a stole show, but I mean, you kind of expect that because it's basically a live action Crypto versus the cartoons ones we've seen. So it kind of changes everything a little bit on that. But at the same time, you can see how
I
it
have to
was in the
admit,
story.
I'm going to get hate for this. I have always hated the idea of Crypto. I've never it's the planet's blowing up, and really the citizens of Krypton are like, I know we have to put this dog on a ship to save it. Like, I really like you got an escape pod and you're gonna waste it on a dog, not another person. Like, I don't know. I just the whole idea of Crypto has, even when way back when, has never made sense to me.
Well, you go back to the originality of it, and it first appeared in Superboy Adventure Story Adventure Comics in 1955. Originally meant to be just a one-off character, but people liked it. It kept returning here and there, and it's part of, Superboy.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
Well, really, as the planet's blowing up, they're worried about a dog escaping.
Well, no, actually, what they did was, you go back and find out. That's why I wanted to find actually right. Basically, Crypto was a test subject. He wasn't sent as exploring. He was sent out beforehand by Jor-El because he was testing the cryogenic sleep of this rocket.
Oh, okay. So it's like the monkeys going up in space.
Yeah,
he was a test.
Yeah,
okay. Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah, and that's what it always. I knew it wasn't just sent out like, oh, we got to throw him in. I mean, the one I always felt like we got to save too. The second one is, and it. So then is the Supergirl was like, oh, well, we got to save her too, and she can go help her cousin because she was older. And then problem was that she didn't age.
She was supposed to watch over him.
Yeah, because of course she was in cryogenics, and then when she landed, he'd already been here for 25 years, or something like that. So she was a teenager,
right.
And so that was the difference on that.
Right.
But yeah, but Crypto, yeah, it's of course you get, because they're coming from the same planet, get some similar dogs. I guess dog version of the power, stuff like that. So it's just, I think it's kind of cool. I look forward to seeing that part. I like Crypto in different batches. I've liked Crypto as in different comics I've read. They did a cartoon for a while that was not bad. I mean, I introduced they had all these other animals in DC. They had a whole comic book series in those, and you got like Ace, which is Batman's dog, and they had a monkey and a couple other ones from different characters and that. So
yeah. The other part, the parts I'm liking from the trailers though is frame by frame, you can match this up with the comic books. James Gunn is trying to stay true to some different. I mean, it's hard to stay true to the comics because there's been so many versions of comics over the years. But he is, to one of the series of the comics, he's staying very true to. So I do like that. He's trying to honor the lineage of past comics. I'm not liking the whole trying to make Lois Lane a badass. Like they show her flying the ship and doing all. It's like I don't know about that.
Well, they've done that. Really, in the last
I know
50 years, they've done that.
Stop making her. She doesn't need to be a badass. That part's kind of annoying.
They've done that a long time. Even back in the comic iterations back in the 60s and that, she was a little more. They made it a little more. She's always been an independent journalist because that was the role you had to be a female journalist in the 30s and 40s. Right. But yeah, they're starting to do that with her. But if she starts picking up weapons like she knows what she's doing and never touch them, that'd be one thing, So without creating a new backstory. So and that. So listen to that.
I read it on Google.
Yeah. I did watch last night. I got a chance to watch Karate Kid Legends. It's available on demand now.
Oh, how was it?
You know what? It was okay. And that's the best way to put it. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed the time I watched it. It's only about an hour and a half. What I didn't like was when it's the same setup. I will say this. It was better than the previous Karate Kid movie with Jalen Smith, which I never really cared for that one because I thought it was just didn't, it never fit right. But I like what they're doing by merging that one with the original one to create this new story. I like the idea behind that Jackie Chan's character knew Mr. Miyagi and they were friends, and it goes back generations and all that stuff. And they did some scenes with them, showing quick stuff, because they can do that now and create it. But um, the whole thing behind it was you get the basic story is mom Ming Na Wen and her son live in China. He's training and has to hide when she shows up because she doesn't want him training in kung fu, but he has for years. And you find out it's because his brother died and had been part of a tournament there. Then afterwards they got attacked and got stabbed and killed. You find out about this as it's going along. So it's a little spoiler there, but it's not that big of a spoiler because he's dead from pretty much the first 10 minutes. And then so they moved to New York because she's a doctor and has a good job opportunity. And he speaks very good English because I think they were in the U.S. and went there. Some of that was kind of confusing at the beginning of how all this stuff. But they can speak clear English, and he shows up, and she tells him how to get around. He doesn't feel like a fish out of water so much. He's just a kid going to a new school, and the first person he meets and makes a friend is, of course, her boyfriend / ex-boyfriend / they don't know, and he's the bad guy, and he's the Johnny Lawrence type character, and of course he sucker punches him, and then they get into a little fight later, and he kicks his ass in the thing. So the kid, of course, goes home, and of course, that's when Jackie Chan shows up because his mom's mad because he's fighting. He's not supposed to be fighting. He shows up. We got to train him. He needs to fight. Goes against Lewis. It's all just very happenstance. And then they get to this big 5 boroughs fight, and they zip through it in like 5 minutes up to the last fight. And at the same time, I watch this going, okay, yeah, he's an asshole kid that you're fighting against. They show him training a little bit. And also, he's been training this whole time. It's all dialogue more than anything. At the same time, it's like they have his boss is supposedly this kind of gangster type guy who sorts money out of, the Josh Jackson's character who runs a pizza shop because he borrowed money. And, it's just everything which just felt like happens. Like, okay, you got to rush through all this stuff to try to have this great story. And it could have been a much better story. I think, I like the idea of merging the Miyagi-Do with the Kung Fu, and you brought those two characters together, and it wasn't LaRusso doing it all like he did in Cobra Kai. He of course denied it and didn't want to do it, and then shows up, he's going to because it's in the freaking trailers, and that's already 2/3 of the movie. So that's part of the problem is it's good to watch like I saw it, I had some credits to you, so I watched that, but I'm glad I didn't pay to go see it per se in the theater. And that the fights were okay. Right. They weren't great, but when the whole original Karate Kid, you had this whole more backstory going on behind the scenes, and and things he did. And I like how Barney from How I Met Your Mother, when you listen to him talk about what the Karate Kid really is about, you look at it and go, yeah, LaRusso kind of was a jerk during those movies, the first one, and that so it really was, and even though it was basically two butt heads butting heads is what it was, but yeah, it was it was a little disappointing. It wasn't better. I mean, they kind of could set up at this point something more, but it's like even at the end, you didn't get the whole, like Johnny Lawrence going, hey, here's your trophy you won, but you had the whole thing after he beat him. The guy, basically they did a little bow and that was it. But and the guy walked away from his sensei. But it's like, the whole time you're looking at it going, it's. Everything was just dialogue. The girl telling him, "Oh yeah, you don't want to. You like kung fu or karate or whatever. Yeah, stay away from there." Everybody that goes there becomes a jerk, and it's just like there's no real setup on the whole thing. I mean, after the one fight, right away he's like, "Yeah, show up at the 5 boroughs, and the teachers can't stop us." I'm like, who cares, But
right,
just to sit back and watch a movie, it was fine. I ate some pizza.
So here's it. In real life, back in April, Ralph Macchio got his black belt in real life.
Very cool.
So back in April, he announced that he got his black belt. He was 63 years old. So
yeah, he doesn't look 63,
really cool
but but yeah, him and Tom Cruise are like the same age.
Of course, the other real life news from the Karate Kid series is the next Cobra Kai movie will be called The Final Bite. You saw what happened with the old Cobra Kai master, right?
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was ridiculous of him.
Yeah, he bit his co-star and she drew blood.
Yeah, he said he was just playing and everything else, and she filed charges. And it gets them both in the news and Comic-Con. I don't know. I
that was kind of crazy.
I know it's stupid. It actually won't be because if you watch the Cobra Kai series, he's dead.
Yeah, I was kidding.
Yeah. So no, no, in the series the character's
Yeah,
dead. So they did have a
right.
tie into Cobra Kai at the end of Karate Kid Legends. There's a scene. It's the movie ends, but it immediately cuts to a cutscene. There's no other cutscenes after the credits, and it's him and Johnny Lawrence talking, and basically a pizza from New York got delivered out there. And there, I think it's a way to we're trying to do a quick tie into Cobra Kai, but then also set up if they want to do
Mhm.
future movies, things like that. I yeah, again, we're revisiting a franchise that I think would have been better served with a little more story and not so rushed to get the kid into the tournament, and that's what it felt like. And like I said, there's 5 battles, and he basically KOs everybody to the last guy, and the kid does, and you're like going, okay,
Yeah.
there's no real fight. You don't even know who these people are. One guy says something, he's like he thumps him twice and does a kick and knocks him out, and it's like, okay, is this how they're all gonna go? And pretty much. I mean, they zipped through the
Yeah.
tournament like that. It was ridiculous. So, but there's things I liked about it, things I didn't. But overall, it was a solid 6, just because the story was really
Okay.
kind of lame. So,
There's a couple things I watched this week. I'm not going to get deep in them. I'll
yeah.
just mention them so if people want to check them out. First is I came across this, watched it actually last night and this morning. It's called
Mhm.
Dark Crimes. It's Jim Carrey. It's a very serious role. It seems like a foreign made film, but he's following. He's this investigator looking into this dark, twisted crime and how it unfolds. The movie itself was okay. It was more interesting because it was Jim Carrey in such a serious, dark role.
Mhm.
So if you want to see Jim Carrey in a different light, this would be a good one. It's there's some depravity in the crime that he's following. Just a full warning. It's like the opening scene. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So, but but yeah, it was cool to see Jim Carrey in this kind of a role. So
Yeah.
that's something to possibly check out. That was on well, it's through Amazon Prime through Freebie. I guess Freebie is through Amazon Prime now.
Yeah, they
So
merged.
it's on there.
So you got commercials.
Yeah, so that was an interesting one. And then on Netflix, there was a series called the R Murders. It's like a Swedish crime show. It's only 5 episodes long. I've been
Okay.
on this little. I think it's because I'm writing the next Crimson Shadows. I've been into all these dark crime things um, for kind of inspiration. They're all. I've been enjoying these. They're much slower paced. These European
Mhm.
series than American based series, but I've been liking them. So this is something worth checking out if you're looking for something like that. It's only 5 episodes, so it's not a long watch. And then the last thing we're watching, this is more of a dark comedy. Jill and I are watching this one. It's called No Good Deed. It's on Netflix. And it's got Ray Romano and Phoebe. What's Phoebe's name in real life? Geez, what's Phoebe's name? Can't believe I'm forgetting it. Lisa Kudrow.
Yeah.
Um, it's in a light that you don't usually see these two actors in. It's very serious, and we got lots of other very famous actors in this. It's made by the same people who did Dead to Me,
Okay.
which had Christina Applegate and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's an interesting story. It's a dark comedy, and we're liking this as well. So something to
Great.
check out there.
I have to take a look at that.
And like I said, these are very different roles for Lisa Kudrow and Ray Romano. So they are a married couple. Their son, I won't give away what happens because it's a key part. Their son passed away years earlier, and
Mhm.
there's a dark mystery surrounding that unfolds through the season. So, and it all happens in the backdrop of they were trying to sell their house, and you have all of these different buyers who are fighting to get the house, but they don't want to sell the house because it's tied to the whatever happened to their son years earlier. So,
Okay.
Dennis Leary is also playing. He's Ray Romano's brother and kind of a dark character. with the troubled past. So that's all I'll say on that. But something worth checking out.
Excellent.
Those are
Excellent.
my 3 from this week.
Yeah, I'll take a look at those. And yeah, anything with Jim Carrey playing serious, people are always surprised. And I like, it's gonna go back. He did what was it called? It was a made for TV movie called Doing Time on Maple Drive, I believe. Came out in the 90s. And
Yeah.
very serious and everything else. You see him in that, you see him in stuff like what is this? The one where he's a World War II vet, but working in Hollywood, gets in a crash, and ends up in this town and helps rebuild the theater because the guy thinks he's his son from World War II had actually died. Very good in that. Even Truman Show, he's more serious than that. But yeah, he can play. A good comedian can play dramatic very well because they're drawing from the same area.
Look at Robin Williams and others. They often have a dark past themselves, which is where their comedy was born from through their formative years. So when they play these dramatic roles, they do have this darker side they can usually tap into to really pull it off.
Yeah. So excellent. Well, hey, this was a fun show. We had no script ahead of time, so we just kind of wing it as always. And
Yep.
So, all right, we'll see you guys next week, and we'll talk about whatever it is we have to talk about. Probably if we've both seen Superman, we'll cover some of that in depth a little more. So, but hey, y'all take care. We'll see you next week. Bye.